It's the off-season for Ontario apple growers, but the snow doesn't cover the damage of last winter's unusual weather. A warm March and frost in April meant bad news for apple farmers in 2012.
It wakes the apple trees up from dormancy, and then the sap starts flowing up, and then the buds start to break. So in April, we had a cold snap, and on, I think it was April the 28th, we knew that it was going to be a hard frost.
Chris Hall is the owner of Hall's Apple Market near Brockville, Ontario. About 90% of Ontario's apple crops were lost because of the bad weather last year. Hall's business wasn't spared.
So we ended up losing about 30% of our crop last fall, which we felt actually blessed compared to some people that have lost 100% of their crop.
While some frost damage is common, this level of severity is not. Climate change experts say the weather will only become more unpredictable for farmers as the years go by.
Strategic planning will be more difficult because of the uncertainty of climate change. So for short term, we know how to do that. For the long term, we really don't know what happened because even the prediction are sometimes in contradiction one another.
Professor Seydoux says the government is doing good research on climate change, but Ontario apple growers say they need more direct assistance. Last September, the Ontario Apple Growers Association reached out to the government for disaster relief. Its application was rejected in January because there was no long-term damage to apple trees. Instead, the federal and provincial governments announced a joint program that aims to help apple growers reduce the risk of future frost damage.
We're encouraging growers to consider whether some of the risk mitigation measures might be useful for their operations, and that's going to be different for every grower in every situation. We figure there's about 8 main weather risks, and right now they're being encouraged to study them and look at the pros and cons of each risk, whether it's important for their operation and what they can do about it.
Farmers will submit strategic plans to adapt their business for future weather risks. The Ontario Apple Growers Association released a statement. It says the initiative is a step in the right direction, but it doesn't help those who are suffering now. While the government's approach could help farmers in future frosts, Hall agrees some farmers are feeling the pinch right now.
People in this area that I know, they were all affected about the same rate as we were. That I don't think it was as devastating for this area. Up in Western Ontario, that they probably are hurting a lot more of this, and they probably wish that there was more funding right now just to get them through the hump.
Farmers have until the end of February to submit their application for the government fund. For Capital News, I'm Catherine Forrest.